Hello, my name is Eric Putkonen. Thank you for joining me. Today I'm talking about a quote by Ramana Maharshi. He said, "The I casts off the illusion of I, and yet remains as I." And he also said, this is the paradox of self-realization, and the realized don't see a contradiction in this. And I thought I'd explain what's going on. I mean, I really love what Ramana Maharshi said and how he talked about and how he, his pointers. But there is a bit of a difference between the pointers he and I uses. I mean, we're talking about the same thing basically, but when Ramana is talking about the self, he'll at times say this is the true I. Self is I. That's being. And at other times, he's talking about I as in jiva, an individual being, a separate me. And so he'll sometimes be throwing in the I's, and the context will be one or the other. Now, I know there's some confusion sometimes, and I want to approach it in a slightly different way. And so usually when I talk about self, I'll say there is no me in self. The self is not personal. And so I'm further, I think, clarifying or pointing slightly differently at what we're all kind of pointing at. But in this phrase or this line that Ramana had talked about, what he's really saying is the self casts off the illusion of a separate individual me, a jiva, and remains as self. It is rather obvious, really. As long as you don't get caught up in the context changes. But all he's really saying is the illusion of a separate me gets tossed off by that which isn't illusory, and that which isn't illusory remains as it always has. It's kind of like the old wave and ocean analogy. It's self-realization, enlightenment, awakening, pick your term, is the ocean realizing it's always been ocean, and the illusion of it being a wave gets tossed away. And this is basically exactly what Ramana was saying. The ocean, self, tosses off the wave, illusion, and remains ocean. Because the wave, the individual me, the jiva, never becomes the self. The wave never becomes the ocean. It's the ocean realizes it's always been ocean. It's the self realizes it's always been self. The very me that is trying to become that or expand or in some way get there is the very illusion that we see through to realize what's always been, to realize what's always been the case, even when we didn't see it or were denying it. Likewise, the illusion, the illusory thought of a wave falls away, and what remains is the ocean. That's always been the case. That there has never been any division. I mean, we may arbitrarily and illusory separate waves. We'll see the crests between, we'll see the crests and we'll see the valleys, and we'll just kind of draw an imaginary line across the valleys and the low point, and we'll call these individual waves. Well, they've never been individual in the first place. It's all one thing that's flowing. And if you're floating along in the ocean, you actually may even see a swell or a wave merge with another wave. But it didn't really merge. It was all one in the first place. It was just, it commingled differently. So yeah, it's this giving up the illusion to realize what's always been the case. And so it's the I that tosses off the illusion of I and yet remains as I. Not really a paradox if you really think about it. But yeah, it was because I saw this and I just wanted to talk about it because I was rereading Be As You Are by David Godman. And I occasionally like rereading Ramana Maharshi's books because he is my favorite teacher. I just like the way he puts things. But anyway, that's kind of all I wanted to talk about today. If you got any questions, comments, please post below. But until next time, thank you much.